Was Garry Kasparov the best player in the history of chess? Magnus Carlsen actually confirmed that a few days ago in an interview with Gotham Chess. And today we are going to check one of his best ever games against Anatoly Karpov in one of those very long World Championship. He was playing black in this game, and after d4, cd4, knight d4 and knight c6, he was probably going to play some kind of Taimanov Sicilian, but Karpov very quickly played with knight b5 in a very solid style, where he wanted after d6 to play c4 and gain some space advantage in the long term, right? And of course Kasparov just continued developing the pieces, knight f6, knight c3, a6, and simply knight a3. There is many different ways to play this position with black. Of course, you could simply play like bishop 7, castle, and then try to play something like this, bring the knight probably here, and play some kind of hedgehog system. But Kasparov has had a very different way of thinking for this position, as he wanted to play very quickly with d5. Of course, we don't have as many people controlling d5 as white, so we are simply going to lose a pawn, and after knight b4, we're attacking it back. But did actually Kasparov wanted to take this guy back? Not really. And after bishop e2, he didn't do it. He could play knight d5, but that could be somehow some of more Karpov style. And after bishop f3, probably they were going to reach some kind of endgame where white did probably slightly putting some pressure. And that's why Kasparov's idea was simply to play with bishop c5, play with the dynamic, and play in a very aggressive style. Castle came, castle, and now bishop f3. Karpov said, okay, you didn't take the pawn, you are no longer gonna be able to take that pawn anymore. But Kasparov wasn't worried about that, and after bishop f5, he simply wanted every piece to be as active as possible, and he's definitely gonna manage to do that. Bishop g5 from Karpov, just developing the pieces, and now Rook e8, controlling the open file. Very important move actually, because it's not so easy for white to try to fight for this open file, since if white try to play something like Rook e1, it will be immediately losing. And after bishop f2 check, knight f2 and knight d3 check, we could simply take on e1 and force white to resign. That's why Karpov tried to play queen d2 first. So now we're going to stop and we're going to try to understand a bit better the position. So our pieces, we have beautiful bishop here looking in this diagonal, we have beautiful knight here trying to control the d3 square, we have some pressure over f2, and especially and more important, we're going to play against this guy right here, against this guy right here, and against this guy right here. And also it will be very easy for us to play against these guys, both rooks, because with the knight on d3 we're going to control pretty much every file in the position. That's why Kasparov started with the move b5. The idea of b5, it has two different ideas, but main idea was to avoid knight c4 from happening. So now this guy is going to be dead on a3 basically for the rest of the game. The other idea is that now anytime we play knight d3, we're going to be threatening b4, attacking both knights, which will be a very annoying threat for white. Here Karpov continued with rook a1, just trying to bring some pieces to the center of the game, trying to play maybe some d6, attack the rook here, but Kasparov wasn't so worried, simply knight to d3, and now already threatening b4, and that's why Karpov tried to come back with the knight, and we keep attacking pieces. h6, very annoying move because you have to make a decision, and you don't really want to take here, since after queen f6, we have a lot of control, we have the pair of bishop, some pressure on f2, and it's very hard to continue here with white. So Karpov tried to play the move bishop h4, which somehow gives some relief for white, since now the f2 pawn is a bit more defended, but also we have some annoying ideas as g5 at some moment that you have to be very careful about. Now, Kasparov simply wanted to activate every piece as best as possible, and now he wanted to play b4, attacking the knight. It has to go to a4, now bishop to d6. So Kasparov managed many different things with this. First, this guy, no squares. This guy, no squares. This guy, no squares. This guy, no squares. So none of these pieces has any square right now. And actually, the queen only has this one, and we are threatening some bishop f4, some rook c8, so you have to be very careful. And that's why Karpov tried to play bishop g3, so bishop f4 is no longer a threat. And now, worst piece for black, this guy right here. What do? Simply put it on c8 and b3. Now, of course, we have some dream at some point to play rook c2, and you have to be very careful because I might be able to simply go somewhere with the knight and then play rook c2 very quickly. Now b3 from Karpov, basically trying to give some square for the knight, trying to eliminate the most annoying piece from black, which clearly is this guy on d3. Now Kasparov played really quickly with this g5 move, extremely interesting way of playing the position. The idea, well, if white tried to play like this, we still can play taking g4, now bishop e2, rook c2, and we win the bishop. So we are basically avoiding white to play knight b2, at least for now. Now white tried to take and play g3. This way, this move again might be a threat. So it's very clear that we want to keep a knight somehow on d3, right? How do we do it? Very simple. We simply play knight d7, and we're going to exchange this guy for this guy, and they are both going to do the same effect in the position. Now Karpov decided to play bishop g2 before playing knight b2, and now it's too late, my friend. Queen f6 from Kasparov very quickly, avoiding knight b2 from happening, and now there is no way to avoid this guy from being on d3. And again, if we see the position, no squares for this guy, no squares for this guy, no square for this guy, no square for this guy, and even more funny, no square for this guy. So none of these pieces can move literally anywhere. That's why Karpov tried to play a3 to get some freedom, but a5, very important to keep this guy right here to start and keep controlling all those squares. Now Karpov managed to get some new square for the queen, trying to maybe bring some pieces back to the attack, but bishop g6 first, g4 is going to come later. First to attack f2, and maybe also get some tries with the knight going to f3. d6 from Karpov, and now g4, keep controlling more and more squares all the time. Now the plan might be too simple. Go to h5, h4, h3. We don't even look at this guy. We don't care about this guy, at least for now. But the pawn here is not a threat, and we don't want to play something like queen d6 and then maybe knight d2 and you start activating your pieces. None of that is going to happen, and that's why g4 came in the game. Queen d2 attacking this guy right here. Okay, we simply defend it. Nothing else to worry about, right? And f3 from Karpov, who at least he was trying to get some freedom now for the pieces, but the problem is that somehow white is opening the position in a situation where none of the knights are actually doing anything. So we are going to be able to let's say entering white position with so many more pieces, and white is not gonna be able to battle that back because we are going to be doing it with more pieces. Now we want this guy from leaving the position because we want to activate this guy right here, and we don't want to be worrying about son d7 all the time. fg4, check here, and knight f6. We don't want to waste a tempo looking at this guy. We want to come here and here, or even more strong here and here, which will be ending the position. And the problem for white is that even though our king doesn't look so great, white is playing with two pieces down. Both of those knights do nothing in the position. Here Karpov tried rook f4, very actually great idea, trying to get some counterplay, but it's too late for white. Knight e4, very strong move, attacking the queen, and also and especially trying to bring the knight to f2 to basically finish the game. White has to take on d3, and now simply knight f2, check. There is nothing else to do than taking that knight here, and we finally pick the queen. But Karpov's idea was very smart. He wanted to play rook d2, take here, he has maybe 3 pieces for the queen, and maybe the chance to hold the position. But again, Kasparov was ready for that and calculated everything till the end. Queen e3, great move, you have to take the piece, and rook c1, sacrificing the whole queen. You cannot really take it, because if you take here with white, then simply check, bishop f1, take on e3, attack the bishop, I attack the knight, you are going to lose one of them, you're going to lose the pawn, and you have no chance of surviving this position. And here, Karpov tried to play knight b2, trying to hold with everything to his pieces, and very beautiful move from Kasparov. queen f2, sacrificing the whole rook on c1, trying to come to a1 with his rook. He takes, check, take, bishop f1, and mate to this guy right here. That's why Karpov tried to play knight d2, and now take, knight takes, rook e1, and Karpov had to resign. Definitely one of the greatest games played by Kasparov ever. Did you actually think, or do you actually think that Kasparov is the best player in the history of chess? Tell me in the comments, and I see you in the next video.